Absolutely. Here's a great, deeply detailed, and very simple summary of the topic chrysophytes, explained in a way that even a complete beginner or a child can fully understand. It covers every important point in a very clear, step-by-step manner. Summary of chrysophytes, in the easiest and deepest way. 1. What are chrysophytes? Chrysophytes are tiny living organisms that mostly live in water. The word chrysophyte means golden plants because many of them are golden colored. They include diatoms, tiny glass-covered organisms, golden algae, tiny plant-like creatures sometimes called desmids. 2. Where do they live? Chrysophytes are found in both kinds of water: fresh water, like ponds, rivers, and lakes; marine water, like seas and oceans. This means they can live almost anywhere water is found. 3. How small are they? Chrysophytes are microscopic, meaning you can't see them with your eyes. You need a microscope to see them. They are part of plankton, which are tiny floating creatures in water. 4. How do they move? Chrysophytes do not swim or move by themselves. They float in water, carried by the water's flow or current, like leaves floating on a river. They move passively, meaning they don't try to move. They are just pushed along by water. 5. How do they eat or get energy? Most chrysophytes are photosynthetic. This means they make their own food using sunlight, just like green plants. They take in sunlight plus carbon dioxide, water, and make sugar, food, oxygen. This process is called photosynthesis. Because they make their own food, they are called producers. 6. What is special about diatoms? Diatoms are a type of chrysophyte. Each diatom is covered with a hard shell made of silica, a glass-like material found in sand. The shell has 2 parts, like a soap box. One part is the bottom box. The other part is the lid that covers it. This shell is strong and doesn't break easily, even after the diatom dies. 7. What happens when diatoms die? When diatoms die, their soft body decays, but the hard shell stays. Over billions of years, the dead shells pile up at the bottom of oceans, rivers, and lakes. These piles form a type of soil called diatomaceous earth. 8. What is diatomaceous earth? It is made of millions of tiny diatom shells. It looks like soft, gritty powder, like sand or flour. It is very useful in real life, used for polishing metals or glass like a scrub, used for filtering dirty liquids like oil, syrup, or water like a strainer or sieve. 9. Why are diatoms very important? Diatoms are main producers in the oceans. This means they make most of the food for tiny sea creatures. They make a lot of oxygen, which all animals, including humans, need to breathe. Without diatoms, the ocean food chain would break, and even the air would have less oxygen. Why should we care about chrysophytes? Reason. Why it matters. Tiny, but powerful. They are small, but help the whole earth. Found everywhere. Live in lakes, rivers, seas, and oceans. Make food. Like plants, they make their own food using sunlight. Soapbox shell. Diatom shells are strong, pretty, and useful. Diatom soil becomes useful earth for polishing and filtering. Ocean food chain. Diatoms feed many sea animals. Oxygen makers. Help give us clean air to breathe. Final simple image to remember. Chrysophytes equals tiny water creatures. Diatoms equals tiny soapbox glass shells. Make food using sunlight, photosynthesis. Leave glass soil, diatomaceous earth. Used for cleaning, filtering, feed the ocean, and give oxygen. Would you like a story, diagram, or a fun quiz to remember all this better? I can make learning this even easier and more fun for you. Sure. Here's a great, deeply detailed, and very simple summary of everything about dinoflagellates. Like the best teacher is summarizing it just for you. I'll explain everything clearly, slowly, and completely, using easy language, examples, and extra facts to help you understand deeply. Detailed summary of dinoflagellates in simplest words. What are dinoflagellates? Dinoflagellates are tiny, microscopic living things found mostly in the ocean. You cannot see them with your eyes. You need a microscope to see them. The name dinoflagellates means spinning creatures with tails. They make their own food. Dinoflagellates are photosynthetic. This means they can make their own food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, just like plants. So they are plant-like, but not true plants. They are protists, a group of simple living organisms. What do they look like? Dinoflagellates can be yellow, green, brown, blue, or red. Their color depends on the pigments, color chemicals, inside them. For example, green pigment equals chlorophyll, helps in photosynthesis. Red pigment makes some look red, especially during red tides. Because of these pigments, they can glow or sparkle in water at night. This is called bioluminescence in some types. Example, imagine a tiny glittering jelly bean floating in the sea. That's what some dinoflagellates can look like. Their hard body, cell wall. Dinoflagellates have a hard covering around their body made of cellulose plates. This outer wall is like armor. It protects them. These plates are stiff, not soft, and give the dinoflagellate its shape. The plates are arranged in different patterns in different species. Some look round, some look star-like. Example, think of a tiny knight wearing a shell made of puzzle pieces. That's how their body covering is. How do they move? Dinoflagellates move using two flagella, tiny whip-like tails. One tail points down or backward, longitudinally. 2, one tail goes around the body like a belt, transversely, sitting in a groove. These tails help them to spin and swim through water. Their movement looks like twirling or rotating. Example, imagine a spinning top that has one tail sticking out and another wrapped around it. It moves by twisting. What are red dinoflagellates and red tides? Some dinoflagellates are red in color because they have a red pigment. One famous red dinoflagellate is called gonialax. Red tides. Sometimes these red dinoflagellates multiply very fast, meaning their number grows quickly in the water. When millions of them gather in one area, they make the water look red or brown. This is called a red tide. Example, it's like pouring red color into a bucket of water. The whole water turns red. In nature, this is done by the red dinoflagellates. Why are red tides dangerous? When too many dinoflagellates gather, they can release poisons, called toxins, into the water. These poisons can kill fish and other sea animals, hurt humans if they eat fish or shellfish from that area. Sometimes you may see many dead fish floating on the water during or after a red tide. Example, think of it like tiny creatures polluting the sea with poison. Even though they are so small, they can cause big problems. Summary table. Everything at a glance. Topic. Simple explanation. What are they? Tiny sea creatures that spin and swim. Where do they live? Mostly in oceans, salt water. What do they eat? They make their own food using sunlight, photosynthesis. What color are they? Yellow, green, red, blue, brown, depending on pigments inside them. Body covering, hard plates like armor made of cellulose. How do they move? With two flagella, tails, one straight, one wrapped around. What is red tide? When red ones grow too fast and make the sea red. Why is it dangerous? They release poisons that kill fish and hurt sea life. Bonus fun facts. 1. Some dinoflagellates glow in the dark. They light up when water is disturbed, like when waves crash. This glow is called bioluminescence. 2. Dinoflagellates are a type of plankton, which means they float in the ocean and are carried by currents. 3. Not all dinoflagellates are harmful. Many are peaceful and help in ocean food chains. Final simple sentence. Dinoflagellates are tiny, spinning seals. They make their own food from sunlight, come in many colors, and can sometimes turn the sea red and dangerous when they grow in huge numbers. Would you like me to make this into a comic strip? A diagram poster? A story with characters? Let me know. Absolutely. Here's a great, deep, and detailed summary of euglenoids, explained in the simplest way for a total beginner, like a child or someone with no science background. This summary will help you fully understand and remember everything about them clearly and confidently. Euglenoids. Deep, detailed summary in the simplest words. What are euglenoids? Euglenoids are a group of tiny living things that are usually made up of just one cell. They are not fully plants and not fully animals. They are a mix of both, which makes them very special and unique. Where do they live? Most euglenoids live in fresh water. That means water without salt, like ponds, lakes, rainwater puddles. They are especially found in stagnant water, water that does not move, like a still pond, water collected in a bucket, a roadside puddle. These places may look dirty to us, but for euglenoids, it's home. What is their body like? Unlike plants that have a hard cell wall, euglenoids have a soft, flexible outer layer called a pellicle. The pellicle is made of protein. It lets their body bend and twist easily. This flexibility helps them move, unlike plant cells, which are stiff. How do they move? Euglenoids, using two flagella. One is long, used for swimming forward. One is short, helps in balance or direction. These flagella are like tiny whips or tails that help them glide through water like a fish or a tiny boat propeller. How do they eat or get energy? This is the most amazing thing about euglenoids. 1. In sunlight, euglenoids use photosynthesis. They have green pigments like chlorophyll in plants. They take in sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water, and they make their own food, just like plants. 2. In darkness. If there's no sunlight, they cannot make food. Then they act like animals. They start eating tiny living things, like bacteria or small microbes in the water. This means euglenoids can change the way they eat depending on the light. Light equals plant mode, dark equals animal mode. We call this mixotrophic behavior because they use two ways of getting food. Why can they do photosynthesis? Euglenoids have green pigments called chlorophyll, which are exactly the same as those found in higher plants like trees, grass, or flowers. These pigments absorb sunlight and help them make food. So euglenoids are like tiny green machines that can use sunlight to stay alive, just like leaves do. Example of a euglenoid. Euglena. The best known euglenoid is Euglena. Euglena has a long flagellum to swim, a pellicle to stay flexible, green color for photosynthesis, a red eye spot to detect light, the ability to switch between making food and eating food. Euglena is like a super adaptable organism that changes itself based on its surroundings. Final summary table. Feature. What it means. Living place. Fresh, still water like ponds or puddles. Cell structure. No cell wall. Has a soft protein layer called pellicle. Flexibility. Can bend and move easily because of pellicle. Movement. Swims using two flagella. One long, one short. Photosynthesis. Can make its own food using sunlight like plants. Hunting ability. Can eat other tiny organisms when there's no sunlight. Green pigments. Same as those found in big plants. Chlorophyll. Example. Euglena. Swims, eats, makes food, senses light. Why are euglenoids special? Euglenoids are special because they are half plant, half animal. They can make food and eat food. They are flexible, mobile, and adaptable. They show us how nature can combine two different lifestyles in one tiny body. Would you like a diagram, a comic strip, or a quiz next to make this even easier to remember? Sure. Here's a great, deep, and detailed summary of slime molds, written in the simplest and clearest language, so that even no science background can fully understand everything. This summary goes deep, but explains each idea in gentle and easy terms, like a brilliant teacher guiding a curious beginner. Deep, detailed, and simple summary of slime molds. What are slime molds? Slime molds are tiny, jelly-like living things. They are not animals, not plants, not fungi. They are a special kind of living being called protists. Think of them as blobs that are soft and slow-moving. You can usually find them in damp, shady places, like on rotting wood or wet leaves in forests. What do they eat? Slime molds are saprophytes. That means they feed on dead and rotting things, like fallen leaves, old wood, dead insects, or tiny dead creatures. They don't have a mouth. Instead, they absorb their food by spreading over it and soaking it up, just like a sponge or paper towel. What is a plasmodium? When many slime mold cells come together, they form a large, slimy mass called a plasmodium. This plasmodium is visible to the eye, jelly-like, moves slowly, like honey dripping or a slug crawling, spreads out over dead leaves or wood, looking for food. It can grow very large, even several feet wide, depending on how much space and food is available. What happens when life becomes difficult? If the weather becomes too dry, too hot, too cold, or if there's no food, the slime mold stops moving and changes its form. It builds tiny structures called fruiting bodies. These look like tiny stems or balls growing from the plasmodium. Think of them as miniature trees growing from the jelly blob. What are fruiting bodies and spores? Fruiting bodies are containers that hold spores. Spores are like baby seeds of the slime mold. They are tiny, dust-like, and very light. Each spore can grow into a new slime mold one day. The spores are protected by strong belly, hard walls, so they can survive bad conditions. Why are spores important? Spores are built to survive for many years, even in terrible conditions like heat, dryness, or cold. They wait patiently for a good time, like when it rains or becomes damp again. Then they wake up, grow, and start the slime mold life cycle again. Spores are also carried away by the wind, which helps spread slime molds to new places. Slime mold life cycle in simple steps. 1. Spores fly through the air and land on a moist surface, like a wet leaf. 2. The spores wake up and grow into tiny moving cells. 3. These cells join together and form a big crawling jelly-like blob, plasmodium. 4. The blob moves around, eating dead stuff. 5. When food or water is missing, it stops and makes fruiting bodies. These fruiting bodies release spores into the air. 7. The cycle starts again. Simple real-life comparisons. Concept. Think of it like slime mold, spilled jelly or honey that moves. Plasmodium, a big soft pancake of slime crawling on leaves. Fruiting bodies, tiny towers or mushrooms growing from the slime. Spores, powdery seeds that fly in the wind. Feeding, soaking up crumbs like a sponge on a plate. Survival, seeds sleeping until rain comes. Final summary, one short paragraph. Slime molds are soft, jelly-like organisms that live on dead and rotting material in damp places like forests. They eat by spreading over and absorbing dead matter. When many slime mold cells join, they make a big slimy blob called a plasmodium, which can grow very large. If the environment becomes bad, no food or water, they stop moving and build tiny fruiting bodies that release tiny, strong baby cells that can survive for years and fly through the air to grow again when conditions are better. This is how slime molds spread, grow. Would you like a comic strip version of this with labeled pictures to make it even easier to remember visually? Here is a great, deep, and detailed summary of protozoans in simplest, clearest, and easiest language. Perfect for someone with no background in biology. This summary will explain all key ideas using examples and real-life comparisons to help you fully understand and remember it. What are protozoans? Summary. Protozoans are very tiny, one-celled living organisms. You can't see them with your eyes. They are microscopic, so you need a microscope to see them. They are part of a group called protists. Key facts. Unicellular, made of only one cell. Heterotrophs, they cannot make their own food like plants, so they eat other things for energy. They act a bit like animals, so scientists believe they may be the ancestors of animals. They live in water, wet soil, or inside living beings as parasites. Some swim freely, others cause diseases. The four main types of protozoans. We can divide protozoans into four major groups based on how they move and how they live. 1. Amoeboid protozoans, like amoeba. Features found in freshwater, seawater, and moist soil. They move and eat using pseudopodia, which means false feet. They stretch part of their body like jelly to move and catch food. They can change shape as they move. Some marine sea amoebas have hard silica shells around them, like glass armor. Some are parasites, like entamoeba, which lives in human intestines and causes stomach illness, amoebic dysentery. Easy example. Think of amoeba like a blob of jelly that stretches out a hand to catch its food and crawl. 2. Flagellated protozoans, like trypanosoma. Features, they have flagella, long tail-like structures that spin or whip to help them swim. Some live freely in water, others are parasites inside humans or animals. They can cause serious diseases. Example, trypanosoma causes sleeping sickness, a dangerous disease spread by the tsetse fly. This disease makes people very tired, gives fever, and can even cause coma. Easy example. Imagine a tiny submarine with a spinning tail that helps it swim. That's how flagellated protozoans move. 3. Ciliated protozoans, like paramecium. Features. They live in water, freshwater ponds, etc. Their bodies are covered with thousands of tiny hairs called cilia. These cilia beat in rhythm to help them move quickly and pull in food. They have a small mouth-like part called a gullet, where food goes in. Example. Paramecium is a slipper-shaped protozoan. It moves fast with cilia and eats small particles in the water. Easy example. Think of a tiny boat with lots of paddles all around it, rowing fast. That's how paramecium moves and eats. 4. Sporozoans, like Plasmodium. Features. They don't have cilia or flagella, so they don't move on their own. They have a spore-like stage in their life, like a tiny tough seed that helps them survive and spread. Almost all of them are parasites and cause diseases. Example. Plasmodium causes malaria, a deadly disease. It lives in human blood and is spread by the bite of the female anato. Malaria causes and can be life-threatening. Easy example. Think of a silent enemy that enters your body through a mosquito bite and multiplies inside your blood. That's Plasmodium. Quick comparison table for revision. Type, how it moves. Lives, where example. Example, special fact, through a mosquito bite. Flagellate, amoeboid, pseudopodia. Water, soil, amoeba. Can change shape, some have silica shells. Flagella, whipped, water or host body. Trypanosoma, causes sleeping sickness. Ciliated, cilia, tiny hairs. Water, paramecium, fast moving, has a gullet. Sporozoans, no movement, inside host. Plasmodium, causes malaria, has spore stage. Final points to remember. Protozoans are one-celled, microscopic, animal-like organisms. They are heterotrophs. They must eat other things. Some are free-living, while others are harmful parasites. They are divided into four groups based on how they move and how they live. Amoeboid, false feet. Flagellated, tail. Ciliated, hair-like cilia. Sporozoans, no movement, spore stage. Many cause serious diseases like malaria and sleeping sickness. Would you like me to create a colorful diagram showing all four types? A fun story or cartoon about protozoans? A set of flashcards for memory practice? Just say the word. I'll prepare it in the easiest and best way. Absolutely. Here's a great, deep, detailed summary of kingdom fungi, written in the simplest, clearest, easiest language, pro background in biology. This summary will explain all key points slowly and deeply, with examples and comparisons, so you can fully understand and remember it. Kingdom fungi, deep, detailed, and easy summary. What is kingdom fungi? Fungi are a big group of living things. They are not plants, not animals, not bacteria. They belong to their own special group called kingdom fungi. They include things like bread mold, fungi on rotten fruits, mushrooms, yeast. Plant diseases like wheat rust, medicine-producing fungi like penicillium. How do fungi get their food? Fungi are heterotrophs. This means they can't make their own food like plants. They must get food from outside sources. 3 ways fungi get their food. 1. Saprophytes. They eat dead things like dead leaves, old fruits, spoiled bread. They help nature clean up waste. Example, fungi on a dead tree or old food. 2. Parasites. They live on living plants or animals and harm them. Example, fungus causing white spots on mustard leaves. Some fungi cause diseases in plants and even in humans. 3. Symbionts. They live with another organism and help each other. Lichens, fungus, algae. Algae gives food, fungus gives support. Mycorrhiza, fungus, plant roots. Fungus helps roots absorb water/minerals. Roots give food. Where do fungi live? Fungi are cosmopolitan. That means they live everywhere. In air, water, soil, on plants, animals, and even humans. They grow best in warm places, not too cold. Humid places with moisture or water in the air. That's why fungi grow quickly on wet bread, rotten fruits, damp walls, or bathrooms. We keep food in the fridge to slow fungal growth. What are fungi made of? Most fungi, except yeast, are filamentous. This means they are made of thin, thread-like parts, called hyphae, long, thin strands, like spaghetti. They grow and spread inside whatever the fungus is living on. Mycelium, mycelium, a big network or group of hyphae. This is the main body of the fungus, often hidden inside bread, soil, or a tree. 2 types of hyphae. 1, coenocytic hyphae, no walls, just one big open tube with many nuclei. 2, septate hyphae, have cross walls, like rooms in a train. What are fungi cells like? Fungi have cell walls, like plants, but not made of cellulose. Their walls are made of chitin, a tough material also found in insect shells, and polysaccharides, sugars. Are all fungi big? No. There are 2 types. 1, unicellular fungi, made of just one cell. Example, yeast, used to make bread, rising, and beer, fermentation. 2, multicellular fungi made of many cells, organized as hyphae and mycelium. Examples, mushrooms, bread mold, plant disease fungi. Are fungi helpful or harmful? They can be both. Helpful fungi, yeast, used in baking and making alcohol. Penicillium makes penicillin, a life-saving antibiotic. Decomposers, clean up dead things in nature. Symbiotic fungi help plants grow better, e.g. mycorrhiza. Harmful fungi cause plant diseases, e.g. Puccinia causes wheat rust. Spoil food, can cause skin infections in humans, e.g. athlete's foot, ringworm. Final simple recap. Topic key idea. What are fungi? A special group of living things, kingdom fungi. Food. They get food from other things, heterotrophs. Types. Saprophytes, dead things. Parasites, harm living things. Symbionts, help others. Body, made of hyphae threads, which form mycelium. Cell wall, made of chitin, not like plants. Where they live everywhere, especially in warm and moist places. Helpful or harmful? Both. Some make medicine, others spoil food or cause disease. Would you like a visual comic strip, diagram, or a mini test quiz to check your memory? Here is a great, deep, detailed summary of reproduction in fungi, written in the simplest, clearest, most beginner-friendly way, perfect for someone with no biology background. This will help you truly understand and remember the topic better than any textbook. Deep and simple summary. Reproduction in fungi. Fungi can reproduce in 3 main ways. 1. Vegetative reproduction, the easiest way. This is like the fungus growing more of itself by using its own body parts. No special cells or spores are needed. Methods. Fragmentation. The fungus breaks into pieces, and each piece grows into a new fungus. Like breaking a thread, each part grows. Fission. A single cell splits into 2 equal cells, like copying itself into twins. Budding. A small bump bud grows on the parent, becomes bigger, and then separates as a new fungus. Seen in yeast, like a baby bubble popping off. 2. Asexual reproduction, making spores, no mating involved. This method uses asexual spores, which are like tiny seeds. These spores do not need male or female cells. They simply land in a moist place and grow. Types of asexual spores. Conidia, sporangiospores, zoospores, can swim. They have tiny tails. These spores are made in special spore-producing structures, like spore boxes, often called fruiting bodies. These spores help the fungus spread quickly through air, water, or surfaces. 3. Sexual reproduction, the most advanced type. This involves the fusion of two fungal cells, just like in higher organisms. It creates gen absolutely. Here is the deepest, most detailed, yet simplest summary of reproduction in fungi, written like I'm teaching someone with no science background at all. Every word and idea is explained clearly with real-life examples, easy language, and full understanding. Reproduction in fungi, deepest and simplest summary. Fungi are living organisms like mushrooms, molds, and yeasts. They need to reproduce to make more of themselves, just like animals and plants. Fungi can reproduce in three main ways. 1. Vegetative reproduction. Very simple. This is the easiest way. Here, no spores or special cells are made. The fungus simply uses a part of its body to make a new fungus. 3 main types. 1. Fragmentation. The fungal body, called mycelium, breaks into pieces. Each piece grows into a new fungus. Example, like a thread breaking and each piece becomes a new thread. 2. Fission. One fungal cell splits into 2 equal parts. Each part becomes a new cell. Example, like one person becoming 2 identical twins. 3. Budding. A small bubble or bump forms on the parent cell. It grows and then breaks off to form a new fungus. Yeast reproduces like this, like a baby growing on its parent and then walking away. 2. Asexual reproduction, using spores, no sex cells. This is faster than sexual reproduction. Fungi make spores. These are tiny dust-like particles that grow into new fungi when they land on moist places. Spores are like tiny seeds that float in air, water, or rest on plants, bread, fruits, etc. Types of asexual spores. 1. Conidia. 2. Sporangiospores. 3. Zoospores, can move using tails called flagella. These spores are made inside special parts of the fungus called fruiting bodies. Spores spread easily and grow quickly into new fungi. Example, the gray fuzzy layer you see on spoiled bread is made of spores. 3. Sexual reproduction, most complex, involves fusion. This is a longer process that creates new spores through fusion of cells and nuclei. It adds variety and strength to the species. It happens in 3 big steps. Step 1. Plasmogamy, joining of cell contents. 2 fungal cells, or hyphae or gametes, join their cytoplasm, the liquid part inside the cell. Their nuclei do not join yet. The cell now has 2 separate nuclei inside it, one from each parent. Like pouring 2 drinks into 1 glass, but keeping the colors separate. Step 2, karyogamy, joining of nuclei. The 2 nuclei now fuse into 1 nucleus. This forms a diploid cell, 2N. It has 2 sets of chromosomes, one from each parent, like a full set of instructions being combined into 1 book. Step 3, meiosis, making new spores. The diploid nucleus now divides by meiosis. This makes new haploid spores N, each with 1 set of genes. These to new fungi, like the parent giving birth to many small children with new combinations. Special stage, dikaryon, only in some fungi. In some fungi, like ascomycetes and basidiomycetes, something special happens. After plasmogamy, the nuclei do not fuse right away. The cell has 2 separate nuclei, N plus N. This stage is called a dikaryon. The fungus stays like this for a while. This phase is called the dikaryophase. Later, karyogamy happens. Fuse. This is a stage only some fungi go through. Fruiting bodies. These are special structures made by fungi to hold and make spores. They are the spore factories of the fungus. Inside the fruiting body, meiosis happens and haploid spores are made. These spores are then released into the environment. Example, the cap of a mushroom is a fruiting body full of tiny spores underneath. How scientists classify fungi based on reproduction. Scientists look at 1. Type of mycelium body structure. 2. How spores are made. 3. shape and structure of fruiting bodies. This helps divide fungi into groups like zygomycetes, ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, deuteromycetes. Final deepest summary table. Topic. Explanation. Vegetative reproduction. No spores. Uses own body parts like breaking, splitting, or budding. Asexual reproduction. Makes light, fast-growing spores like conidia, zoospores, sporangiospores. Sexual reproduction has 3 steps: plasmogamy, karyogamy, meiosis to make new genetic spores. Dikaryon stage. In some fungi, 2 nuclei stay separate in one cell before they fuse. Fruiting body. Special fungal part where spores are made, like a mushroom cap. Spores. Tiny dust-like seeds that fly and grow into new fungi. Can be sexual or asexual. Real-life examples. Yeast makes bread rise by budding. Mushrooms grow from underground fungal threads. Spoiled bread grows fuzzy mold from asexual spores. Penicillium fungus makes the antibiotic penicillin. Rust fungus, Puccinia, damages crops like wheat. Would you like a comic strip, a summary chart, a diagram, or a quiz next? Let me know how you'd like to learn it better. I'm here to make it fun, visual, and easy. Absolutely. Here's a great, deep, and it's in the simplest and clearest language possible, like teaching a complete beginner. This summary will break down every part of the topic with added explanations, comparisons, and examples to make it unforgettable. Phycomycetes, detailed summary in simplest language. What is phycomycetes? Phycomycetes is a group of simple fungi. They are considered the most primitive or earliest fungi. They are also known as algal fungi because many of them live in watery, moist places, just like algae. 1. Where do they live? Phycomycetes are mostly found in aquatic habitats. These are places with water like ponds, lakes, streams, or puddles. Example, if you leave dirty water standing for a few days, a fuzzy fungus might grow. That could be a phycomycete. Damp and moist places. They love wet areas like rotting logs, mud, or leaf piles after rain. Example, on a rainy day in the forest, fungi may grow on dead wood. These could be phycomycetes. Decaying organic matter. They grow on rotting wood, fruits, vegetables, or food. Example, bread that's gone stale and gets moldy. Obligate parasites on plants. Obligate means they have no choice. They must live on plants to survive. They steal food from plants and harm them. Example, albugo is a phycomycete that infects mustard plants and causes white patches on their leaves. 2. What does their body look like? The body of a fungus is called mycelium. This mycelium is made of tiny threads called hyphae. In phycomycetes, a septate, their hyphae have no internal walls. It's like a long straw with no dividers inside. Coenocytic. Inside this straw-like tube, there are many nuclei, the control centers of cells, floating freely, like one big bag with many small marbles inside, nuclei. So their body is one large cell with many nuclei, not separated into compartments. 3. How do they reproduce asexually? Asexual reproduction means making babies without the help of another fungus. They do this by spores, which are tiny seed-like bodies that grow into new fungi. 2 types of asexual spores. Zoospores. Motile, can move, swim. They have a tail called a flagellum to swim in water. Example, like a tiny sperm cell or tadpole. Aplanospores. Non-motile, cannot move. They don't swim. They just sit and wait to grow when conditions are right. Example, like a dry seed waiting for water. Where are these spores made? They are produced inside a sac-like structure called a sporangium. This is like a balloon full of spores that bursts when ready, releasing them into the environment. 4. How do they reproduce sexually? In sexual reproduction, 2 special cells called gametes come together, fuse, to form a new fungal cell. These gametes join to form a zygospore, a thick-walled, strong spore. Helps the fungus survive bad conditions, like dryness or heat. It can stay inactive for a long time and grow later when the environment is better. Types of gametes, based on how they look. 1. Isogamous. Both gametes look the same in size and shape. Example, 2 similar round cells joining. 2. Anisogamous. Gametes are different sizes, but both can move. Example, one small and one bigger, but both swim. 3. Oogamous. One gamete is large and does not move, like an egg. The other is small and swims, like sperm. Example, human egg and sperm is oogamous. 5. Examples of phycomycetes. Here are 3 well-known examples. Name, description, grows. Mucor, a fuzzy, fast-growing mold on damp fruits, vegetables, or stale food. Known as bread mold. Grows as black-white fuzz on old bread. A plant parasite grows on mustard plants, causes white patches. Final key points at a glance. Feature, description, group name, phycomycetes, primitive fungi. Habitat, water, damp places, decaying wood or on plants. Body structure, thread-like, mycelium, no walls inside, aseptate, many nuclei, coenocytic. Asexual reproduction, by zoospores, can move, or aplanospores, can't move, formed inside sporangia. Sexual reproduction, fusion of gametes, zygospore. Gametes may look same, isogamous, or different, anisogamous, or oogamous. Examples, mucor, rhizopus, albugo. Real-life trick to remember. Think of phycomycetes as the water and wetwood fungi. Their body is one big cell with no walls, like an open highway with many cars, nuclei. They can make swimming or still spores, and sometimes make a strong spore, zygospore, when 2 cells join. The mold on your stale bread is one of them. Let me know if you'd like a comic strip of this explanation, a flowchart or diagram, or a quiz to test your understanding. Here is the greatest, deepest, most detailed summary of fungi in the simplest possible language, perfect for total beginners. This summary will help you fully understand every part of Ascomycetes, with examples, meanings of big words, and real-life comparisons. What are Ascomycetes? Ascomycetes are a major group of fungi. They are called sac fungi because their sexual spores are made inside tiny sac-like structures called ascus. This feature is unique to them, which is why they're named Ascomycetes, the fungi with sacs. Where are they found? They can live in many different places, on dead things, like fallen leaves, old logs, on living plants and animals, as parasites, on animal dung, poop, in soil, air, water, and even inside our homes, like mold on bread. Types of Ascomycetes, based on body. 1. Multicellular, many-celled. Most Ascomycetes are made of many cells. They have a big network called mycelium, made of thread-like parts called hyphae. These threads grow and spread to absorb food. Example, penicillium, the fungus used to make penicillin, an antibiotic medicine. 2. Unicellular, one-celled. A few Ascomycetes are made of just one cell. They are simple but powerful organisms. Example, yeast, Saccharomyces, used in bread making and brewing. Alcohol. How do they get food? Ascomycetes can be of 4 main types, depending on how they get food. 1. Saprophytic. They grow on dead and decaying matter, like rotting wood, leaves, food. They absorb nutrients from it, help in cleaning nature by breaking down waste. 2. Decomposers. Special kind of saprophyte. They break dead material into simple nutrients. They recycle matter in the ecosystem. 3. Parasitic. They live on living organisms and take food from them. Sometimes they harm the host. Example, claviceps infects cereals like rye and produces a harmful chemical called ergot. 4. Coprophilous. These fungi grow on animal dung. They help in breaking it down and recycling it. Structure of their body. The main body is called the mycelium. It is made of long, thread-like structures called hyphae. The hyphae are branched, like the branches of a tree, spreading in all directions. Septate. Each thread is divided into small compartments, like rooms separated by walls. These hyphae help the fungus grow and absorb food. How do they reproduce? Fungi can reproduce in 2 main ways. 1. Asexual reproduction, no mating involved. The fungus makes tiny dust-like spores called conidia. These are formed outside the body, not inside. They grow on special stalks called conidiophores. Imagine conidiophore, a stick. Conidia equals tiny balls or powder growing on it. When conidia fall on a good surface, They grow into a new fungus. 2. Sexual reproduction. Two fungi join to mix genes. The special spores made this way are called ascospores. These are made inside a sac called an ascus, like a tiny bag. Each ascus usually has 8 ascospores. These asci, plural of ascus, are grouped together inside a larger body called an ascocarp, fruiting body. Think of it like ascocarp fruit, like a strawberry. Ascus equals bag inside the fruit. Ascospore equals seed inside the bag. Scientific and practical importance. Many ascomycetes are very important in science and daily life. Penicillium makes penicillin the world's first antibiotic. Discovered by accident by yeast, Saccharomyces, used in baking, makes bread rise. Used in brewing, makes alcohol. Grows on sear plants, like rye, makes a chemical called ergot, used in medicine, but poisonous in neurospora, used in genetic experiments, helped scientists understand how genes work. Edible ascomycetes. Some ascomycetes are not just useful. 1. Shells have a spongy honeycomb look, highly prized in cooking. 2. Truffles grow underground near tree roots, very expensive, used in fancy dishes, can cost 1,000 rupees per kilogram. Final full summary, table format, feature, description, group name, ascomycete, sac fungi. Structure, ascus, a sac that holds sexual ascospores. Asexual spores, conidia, made outside the body on conidiophores. Sexual spores made inside sacs, asci, group ascocarps. Mycelium, branched and septate, divided into compartments. Useful examples. Penicillium, medicine. Yeast, bread, alcohol. Neurospora, research. Harmful examples. Claviceps, infects plants, produces poison. Edible types. Morels and truffles, tasty and expensive fungi. Roles in nature. Decomposers, saprophytes, parasites. Coprophilous. Growth. On dead things, living hosts, dung, or as lab tools. Why are ascomycetes important? They clean nature by breaking down waste. They make medicine that saves lives. They help scientists learn how life works. They make bread and wine. They are part of the ecosystem, food chain, and even luxury food. Would you like me to make this into a diagram, chart, comic strip, or flashcards to help you remember it forever? Absolutely. Below is a great, deeply detailed summary of basidiomycetes, perfect for a total beginner. This summary breaks down every concept clearly, using simple words, examples, and extra information, like the best teacher in the world explaining it step by step. Have detailed and simple summary of basidiomycetes. What are basidiomycetes? Basidiomycetes are a major group of fungi. They are known as the club fungi because they produce spores on a special club-shaped basidium. They include many familiar fungi like mushrooms, agaricus. Some are edible, some poisonous. Bracket fungi look like shelves or fans on tree trunks. Puffballs, round fungi that puff out powdery spores. Rusts, Puccinia, plant parasites that cause orange spots. Smuts, Ustilago, harmful fungi that infect maize and cereals. Where do basidiomycetes live? They live in many places. Soil, underground like mushrooms. On dead wood like tree stumps or fallen logs. Inside living plants, some are parasites. They live off living plants and harm them. Examples. Puccinia causes rust disease in wheat. Ustilago causes smut disease in corn. What is their body made of? Like most fungi, basidiomycetes have a body called mycelium. Mycelium, made of thin thread-like parts called hyphae. These threads spread out underground or inside wood. They are branched, like tree branches. They are septate, which means the hyphae are divided into small sections by walls, like rooms in a train. So, the body is like a web of threads with walls between parts. How do they reproduce? Asexual reproduction. In most fungi, asexual reproduction is done by asexual spores. But in basidiomycetes, asexual spores are usually not seen. Instead, they use vegetative reproduction. No spores involved. The most common method is fragmentation. In fragmentation, the mycelium breaks into parts, and each part grows into a new fungus, like cutting a potato into pieces and each one growing into a new plant. What about sexual reproduction? Basidiomycetes don't have clear male and female parts. Instead, step by step. 1. Two normal cells, called vegetative or somatic cells, from different fungal strains, genetically different, come together. Their cytoplasm joins. This is called plasma, but their nuclei stay separate. 3. The resulting cell has two nuclei. This is called a dikaryotic cell. Di equal 2, karyon equals nucleus. The fungus now enters a dikaryotic phase, where cells have two separate nuclei, like having two brains. What happens in the basidium? This dikaryotic phase lasts for a while. Eventually, special cells called basidia are formed. In the basidium, the following happens. 1. The two nuclei in the dikaryotic cell finally fuse, called karyogamy, forming one nucleus. 2. This nucleus undergoes meiosis, a special kind of cell division. 3. 4 haploid nuclei are formed. Haploid equals having half the number of chromosomes. 4. Each nucleus becomes a spore called a basidiospore. 5. These 4 basidiospores are formed outside the basidium, exogenously. What is a basidiocarp? The basidia, plural of basidium, are found in a large structure called the basidiocarp. This is the fruiting body of the fungus. This is the part that you see above the ground, like a mushroom cap. Inside the cap, especially under it, there are many basidia, each making 4 spores. Example, a common edible mushroom is a basidiocarp. It contains thousands of basidia, each making 4 basidiospores. Summary of the life cycle, step by step. 1. 2 compatible fungal cells meet from different types. 2. They fuse, only the cytoplasm, making a dikaryotic cell. 3. The dikaryotic cells multiply and form a fruiting body, basidiocarp. 4. Inside the basidia, the 2 nuclei fuse, karyogamy, then divide, meiosis. 5. 4 basidiospores are formed on the outside of each basidium. 6. The spores spread in the air and grow into new fungi. Final deep and simple recap. Concept, explanation in simple words. Group, a major group of fungi called basidiomycetes. Famous members, mushrooms, puffballs, rusts, smuts, bracket fungi. Habitat, soil, dead wood or inside plants. Mycelium, body made of branching threads, height with walls, septate. Asexual reproduction, rare, usually by fragmentation, breaking into parts. Sexual reproduction, 2 cells from different types join, form a dikaryotic cell. Dikaryotic phase, cells have 2 separate nuclei for some time. Certainly. Here is a great, deep, detailed summary of deuteromycetes, explained in very simple and clear language, covering all important points for full understanding. Deep, detailed summary of deuteromycetes. Imperfect fungi. Deuteromycetes are a special group of fungi known as imperfect fungi, because for a long time, scientists only knew about their asexual reproduction phase, the part where they produce spores without involving sexual processes. This means that the sexual stage, when 2 fungi combine to form new spores, was unknown or missing in these fungi's life cycle. Because of this missing sexual phase, scientists place these fungi temporarily in a separate group called deuteromycetes. It was like a holding area for fungi whose full life cycles weren't yet discovered. Later, when scientists found the sexual stages of some fungi previously classified as deuteromycetes, they realized those fungi actually belonged to other major fungal groups. Ascomycetes, sac fungi, which produce sexual spores inside special sacs called asci. Basidiomycetes, club fungi, which produce sexual spores on club-shaped structures called basidia. Once the sexual stages were found, the fungi were moved out of deuteromycetes and placed into their correct groups. Sometimes, the asexual and sexual stages of the same fungus had been given different names and classified separately, causing confusion until scientists linked them. Deuteromycetes reproduce only by asexual spores, called conidia. These spores form on the fungal body, mycelium, and spread to new places where they can grow into new fungi without needing to join with another fungus. The mycelium of deuteromycetes is made up of septate divided by walls and branched threads, which help the fungus grow and absorb nutrients. Many deuteromycetes live as saprophytes, feeding on dead organic matter such as fallen leaves, dead wood, or dead animals. parasites, living on or inside living plants or animals, and sometimes causing diseases. They play an important role in nature by breaking down dead materials and helping recycle nutrients back into the soil, a process called mineral cycling, which supports plant growth and maintains ecosystem health. Some common examples of deuteromycetes include Alternaria, causes black spots on plant leaves and fruits. Coletotrichum, causes diseases like anthracnose in crops. Trichoderma, a helpful fungus used in agriculture to protect plants against harmful fungi. Key points to remember. Deuteromycetes, imperfect fungi, only asexual stage known at first. Sexual stages discovered later, leading to reclassification. Reproduce by asexual spores, conidia only. Mycelium is septate, has walls, and branched. Includes saprophytes, parasites, and decomposers. Important for nutrient recycling in nature. Examples: Alternaria, Coletotrichum, Trichoderma. This summary gives you a clear, deep, and complete understanding of what deuteromycetes are, why they were called imperfect fungi, how they reproduce, their role in nature, and what happens when their sexual stages are discovered. Let me know if you want me to explain any part further.